Okay.
This is exciting.
And so we've got 4 more pieces here I want to show you,
Okay.
and then we're going to talk about them, and I got the camera on you. Go ahead.
Okay. So in 2010, 10 years ago, I just happened to plunk in the title of Butch Cassidy's known manuscript, The Bandit Invincible, on Google, and I found that there were copies of the abridged manuscript that Larry Pointer had used in writing his In Search of Butch Cassidy in the 70s, and one of them was at the University of Utah. It was about 100 pages long, and so I just decided I'll get on Abe Books, because that was the biggest international seller of rare books, and I plunked in the name The Bandit Invincible, and it, to my shock, brought up the original manuscript being for sale.
Wow.
Which was pretty amazing when you think about it. What's the chances of that? And I got hold of the individual, called them. There was contact information, and it was an old retired book dealer from Spokane, Washington. And I says, are you sure you've got the? He says, well, yeah, it's the original. We got it from an old friend of mine before he died. He was an old dealer of books up here long before me, who had purchased it from the wife, widow of William T. Phillips, who was an adding machine shop worker up in Spokane, Washington. And she had received $50 for the original. That's all she'd gotten. But she had a son to support, and Phillips' stepson. And so, they needed the money. Well, eventually I purchased the item. This is what it looked like. It was The Bandit Invincible. Certainly was the manuscript, and every page was typed, we believe by his wife, on stationery of W.T. Phillips General Machine Works in Spokane, Washington.
And that's on the back of
That's on the back of every page.
Upside down.
Yeah.
Wow.
So isn't that interesting?
That is fascinating.
And it was a really in-depth, more so than the original of the manuscript that had been used on the earlier book. Well, as we got into it, I found out there were additional things that they had.
led to then these additional
Yeah,
things.
and that led to the this book, which is a machine shop work book that belonged to William T. Phillips. In fact, it has his property of W.T. Phillips stamp on it. Somebody underneath has written once owned by Butch Cassidy. We don't know who did that, whether it was the stepson or somebody
Billy,
else.
William Thaddeus Phillips Jr.
That's
which
what
is a fake name.
we're thinking, yeah. But
they called him Billy.
But that stamp, and then you may want to talk a little about the DNA and that kind of thing. Yeah, what happened?
You're the one who we were here filming, and you go, gee, I wonder if we could get touch DNA off of these Phillips and Cassidy items and prove that Butch Cassidy was William Thaddeus Phillips. And I just went, that's been there all along. But we couldn't have solved it until 2012.
Right.
Because touch DNA was invented by a very famous doctor. So when you touch something, like here's a piece of paper, and the way our DNA experts ask, when you touch that, your essence is on there. And they came here and they swabbed all the DNA experts.
They did, yeah.
From California, they swabbed everything.
They did.
And then so we
they even swabbed me.
We swabbed you.
I could tell, because I've been handling them for a long time.
Right. So here's the example. And believe me, I've been studying touch DNA for a year now. We've spent a fortune on getting this touch DNA. One little idea has had me running around for a year. So if you touch it, and I touch it, and another collector or William Thaddeus Phillips touches it, there's 4 profiles. So Susanna Ryan can only take it so far, our DNA expert. She's the best on the West Coast. And now that's as far as she can go. Then she has to send it to a company where they separate. And that's where we needed your mouth swab. Okay, Brent's eliminated. Okay, well this one matches Cassidy, and this one matches Phillips. That's how it works.
And among the pieces we had that came when I bought the Bandit Invincible was the Jim Kennedy. This was a Jim Kennedy prospector, entirely handwritten by Phillips. And so we ended up with pages and pages that could have been taken with DNA evidence.
And your DNA is all over everything.
Yeah.
But we've eliminated it,
Well,
which
right,
is fun.
right. And some of these pages I hadn't even touched before because I'd never really looked at them that closely. But to me, as a handwriting person, I was always interested in the handwriting. And so the handwriting looked very close to the earlier letters. There were some peculiarities, such as how he makes his funny E's, how he makes his J's so bold, and other things that just stood out to me. And I understand that when Larry Pointer originally was looking at different examples of the same two people's handwritings, that the DNA expert for the Los Angeles Police Department at the time, back in the 70s, says, yeah, they're the same people.
That's what we wanted.
And that's what we needed.
Handwriting and also Phillips and Cassidy that matches.
But I went to some of the best handwriting people I know with this newer evidence, and they said, yeah, the handwriting looks very similar, but people's handwriting changes over 2 or 3 decades. You know? So I could never get them to say, well, yeah, we're 70, 80%, on it, but I could never say for sure from them that it was identical. So it became really important when we had the DNA expert here, and she took samples all through this handwritten document that we have by Phillips, the Jim Kennedy manuscript, and then she took examples from another one, a manuscript which was for Sunset Magazine, where Phillips had actually written, this is a true story, except the names of characters. And
does this go with that?
no, it goes with this. It's a different one.
Oh my goodness.
It goes with this one down here. And but he put his initials WTP, which.
And that's the only signature you have.
That's the only signature we've got of Phillips. Yeah.
All right.
Is that, because everything else is typed or handwritten but without a signature. So.
And then we did get touched.
Right, on this sheet
we
too.
got off of this one.
And on the machine shop.
On the machine
stamp.
shop.
Yeah.
The 1907, 19. It's a
Right.
match.
Yeah.
We did it.
And those were all the matches, and they matched
those
up
we did.
beautifully on it. So
We
that's
did
how
it.
we got it.
We've got touch DNA on Phillips and Cassidy. Nobody can dispute this research.
Oh, it's amazing.
Science. It's
And
science.
and that's been my interest all along, is just find out the truth. Find out,
Well,
you know.
I granted your wish.
Oh, I know you did. Yeah. It worked great. Yeah. So,
We've got touch DNA on Butch Cassidy and William Thaddeus Phillips.
yeah. That's marvelous. That's what we wanted to know.
Look right here to the line again.
We've got, say it again.
We've got touch DNA on.
We've got touch DNA on Butch Cassidy and William Thaddeus Phillips of Spokane.
Isn't that amazing? That's what we were searching for.
It was. It's taken us a whole year. It's
You
taken
bet.
a boatload of money.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of scientists.
Right.
Separating profiles, understanding touch DNA.
And it answers so many questions.
History's changed forever.
Yeah.
History's changed forever. Butch Cassidy is William Thaddeus Phillips with touch DNA. We cannot be disputed.
Right.
Isn't
Okay.
that exciting?
That's perfect. Okay,